Welcome everyone to the Super Connector, where we talk about all things related to the world of influence. Everything from sales to leadership, personal branding, networking, and my personal favorite, how to win friends and influence people. Today, we have a special guest, Adam Taylor. Adam is a remote sales professional, sales coach, and team leader. You might recognize him as a part of the Nomadic closer team with Harlan Riker and Joel Elster. Joel Elster, who was a previous guest on this podcast, great guy. I met Adam in person in the city of Medellin, Colombia, and I also consider him to be a personal friend of mine. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for that gracious introduction there. Very much
Great.
appreciated.
So first things first, your birthday was not too long ago. So happy birthday.
Thank
And
you.
what did you do for your birthday?
What did I do for my birthday? Well, my birthday was kind of threefold. I was woken up to cheesecake, which is the breakfast of champions, as everybody knows.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's how my day started. Then in the evening, we had a little get together here in the building where I'm living in Medellin. There's an awful lot of people in the sales space, but also a lot of personal friends and business partners, acquaintances that are living here in Medellin. So we had a gathering of about maybe 30, 40 people up on the roof here at Kin Living.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we had a little get together. We had a couple of drinks. We had a live sushi chef come in and do a little sushi show for us. We had a birthday cake as well to cut, and so we just had a little nice little quiet evening on the roof. And then I was actually gifted a little weekend getaway from my business partners, Joel and Harlan, who
Really?
they gifted me a little cabin in the woods just outside of Medellin just this past weekend. So I was there from Friday till Sunday, out by the lake, had a jacuzzi, barbecue outside, a little fire pit overlooking the lake. It was gorgeous, mate. It was perfect. Exactly what I needed.
That's incredible. Usually I just get a birthday cake with my mom and my brother, but eventually I'll get something fancy like what you got.
Yeah, you get a little pat on the back. You didn't die again this year. Well done.
Exactly, right? Exactly. All right. So, I mean, a lot of people watching this video will know who you are, but either way, would you mind giving us a brief introduction of your history in sales and leadership and explain exactly what it is that you're doing right now?
Yeah, of course. So for those who don't know me, my name's Adam Taylor. I got into sales around 3 years ago. I lost a business through COVID, as many of us did, and found my way into the world of high ticket sales. From there, ran the gambit. I did the whole closing setting, DM setting, did that for a multitude of different offers. Closed just over 2 million in 9 months, which was great, good fun. Some great experiences. And from there, I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to come and coach the reps alongside Bill Walsh of the Objection Box when he just started a couple of years ago. So I was very fortunate to be the first man in the door with Bill to really just kind of see the growth and just be mentored and be taken under his wing those first sort of 6 months that we were together. Phenomenal opportunity that I'm very, very, very forever grateful for. And from there, I was approached to manage a sales team, which is something that I really wanted to do. Taking my previous sort of business owning and management skills, matching them with the sales skills that I'd acquired was just a real nice crossover of all of the skills that I'd sort of stacked upon each other over the years. And so I jumped at the opportunity, which was a very difficult decision because I was, obviously very, very happy doing what I was doing with Bill. But ultimately, it was really what I wanted to do, and we managed to take that company from around $200,000 to $300,000 in revenue per month to just under $1 million a month in 5 months. So that was the main part of last year, 2023. At which point, I was approached by Joel and Harlan at Nomadic Closer to take on an opportunity that they had to grow a sales agency. And so essentially what I was doing was taking the skill that I'd acquired there of managing a sales team and able to leverage that across multiple teams. And so we've been doing that for 7 months now. We run 4 different accounts currently. We went through a few different fluctuations in the first half of the year, but now we've kind of settled into the trading algorithm niche. And so I run, manage, and lead 4 sales teams across that industry currently.
Yeah, that's quite the the rundown you gave us right there. And that all happened within, what is that, 5 years?
No,
7,
last
3 years. Yeah, that's right. COVID was about 4 years ago.
3 years.
And wow, that's
Yeah.
how does it feel? I mean, does it feel kind of out of this world?
Yes. Very surreal. Mainly surreal because none of this was planned. Literally, I did not sit down and map out a master plan to go from closing to coaching to managing to running a business that manages multiple teams. None of this was planned. None of those decisions were things that I strategically created for myself. They were always opportunities that came to me at the right time with the right people in the right moment. And I'm very fortunate. My dad used to always say that there are just continuous crossroads in life. And all you can do is make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time. For me, luckily, each of those decisions made itself for me. The path before me was exactly what I wanted to do at the time I wanted to do it. And it just stacked skills and gave me the ability to leverage the skills that I'd acquired in the previous phase. So it's very surreal, very, very surreal from just, having to let go of a business because of COVID to what I'm doing now. I could not have predicted that. That
Yeah,
was not,
yeah.
that was not in the books.
And you had said that, kind of that path, like kind of unfolded for you, almost as if it was by chance. I mean, the way that I look at it is that other people saw those qualities within you and decided that I want to take him on board because he's going to be a huge, really beneficial person to have in my network, in my business. And so you kind of carved out your own path there.
Mm.
That's the way that
It's
I see it.
it's something I've certainly considered, because the beginning of the year there, I had a couple of people approach me that wanted to he actually asked me to pay them for mentorship into getting into sales management.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, I guess if you want. And I had to kind of look at my path and figure out what were the things that worked for me to get me from point A to point B. And because
Yeah.
they weren't planned or they weren't strategized, I had to then just reverse engineer. Okay, well, why did I get those opportunities and not the other guy? Why did it seem to be me? And so I kind of had to break that down a little bit. And I do feel that right place, right time, definitely an element of that. But also I feel that everything I've ever done, I've always come with the giving hand first. I've always just really poured into whatever it was I was doing,
Yeah.
even if it wasn't necessarily the thing that I wanted to be doing. I just poured into it anyway, because you got to do something during the day, right? You got to
Yeah.
do something between waking up and going to bed. You got to get something done. And so you might as well do the thing that's in front of you. And I think that I think that attitude has helped tap into the law of
Yeah. Yeah.
reciprocity, where as much as I was giving, the universe was giving me back.
Yeah.
And I do believe there was an element of that. If I could bottle it and sell it, I'd probably be a millionaire. So
Yeah. That's right. Billionaire, maybe. I mean, it
Maybe.
sounds like people trusted in your ability to perform and probably integrity as well. That's what it seems like to me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. There's been times that trust was it was placed on me and I had to go out and earn it, because
Yeah.
there's definitely been times I've been in an opportunity where I probably was. Alex Hormozi has a good analogy for this. He likes to hire people that have won a gold medal rather than have the potential to win a gold medal. There were
Okay.
times where I was granted opportunities where I was certainly the guy that had the potential to win the gold medal, but I
Yeah.
certainly haven't done it yet. And so I'm, forever grateful to the people that have given me those opportunities. But yeah, there's been some scary times as well where I thought, oh, I hope I
Yeah.
can pull this off. I hope I can pull this off.
It's a little bit easier when you have won a gold medal, as opposed to convincing someone that you have the potential to win it. I mean, that's really the tricky part, isn't it?
100%.
It's
100%.
like it's almost like if I could show up for a job that I'm completely unqualified for and I can just nail the interview so good, okay, then I have the potential to win a gold medal.
Yeah. Now you got to go out and get the job done. And that's it.
Exactly.
And that's just the thing I've
Exactly.
always tried to pour myself into. And,
Yeah.
hopefully for anybody watching and listening, if you ever feel any internal resistance to whatever it is you're doing, there's a great book by Michael Singer called The Surrender Experiment. And it basically details about his life story where he very much by accident created a multi-billion-dollar company.
By accident.
And completely by accident, he never planned it. All he did was every single opportunity that kind of came knocking at his door, he surrendered to. He surrendered to the opportunity. He surrendered to the work that needed to be done. He surrendered to whatever was put in front of him. And it just grew. And that surrender, I think, it did stick with me a little bit, the lessons from that book, because sometimes you have some form of internal resistance. You might be in a work environment where, by our very human nature, 80% of it is great, but there's 20% that just annoys you. It just pisses you off. You don't like it. You wish it were different. And by our very human nature, we then focus in and hone in on those 20%, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is that we then pour energy and attention into it, and expands into feeling like that's the 80, 90, 100% of the job, when it's actually not. And so I think if anybody's feeling any internal resistance to where they are, the offer that they're selling on, the job that they're doing, the work they're in, the environment they're in, I would encourage them to just relax into it, just surrender into it and pour everything they can into it without ever expecting anything in return. And the universe will give it back sevenfold. It's worked for me. And there's countless of stories of other people, of it working for other people. And it's a much more enjoyable process as well, because it's not fun to be stuck in resistance, but it
Yeah.
is fun to pour into shit and just be like, fuck it, let's just do the best we can. Why not?
Yeah. And I hear more and more from you what I would describe as just being a person that constantly offers value or constantly has value to give. And like you said, without the expectation of things in return. And part of the reason why I decided to open this podcast is because I realized that it was such an efficient way to offer value to people without having to overextend myself. Because I could bring other people on. They have people that they want to inspire. I brought Joel on. Joel encouraged me to bring you on. I met you down in Medellin. Like, look at all of the things that came out of this. And it's simply from the necessity of knowing that we need to offer value to people. And then, like you said, the universe kind of provides after that. And I think people can tell that we're genuine when we do that. Yeah.
100%. I'll just tell a quick story just to drive this home and where I actually learned this, because I do believe it's a skill. It's a learned skill.
Okay.
There's a conditioned learning to giving that expects to receive from school, from upbringing, from childhood, to where maybe we gave, we didn't get back, and we were expecting it. So now we're upset about that, which just only reinforces the lesson. Well, don't do that again because that hurt.
Yeah.
And so there's a conditioned learning there. I have one of my best friends. He's a guy from Paraguay and he lives in Germany. And he is by far and away the most giving person I've ever met in my life. He has a saying, they have a saying in Paraguay, donde come uno, comen dos, which means where one can eat, two can eat. And so he would always, it took me a while to notice this. If he was ever eating anything, he would always instinctively break it in half and just hand me a piece. He wouldn't ask me, just in conversation, he wouldn't, without thinking about it, he would hand me a piece. He would, if he had something to drink, he'd just give it to me. If, he was on a plate, he'd get a second plate and without even thinking. He was always doing this. And I never really took much notice of it. What I did notice though was this was one of the most luckiest guys ever. He would constantly find money. He was always finding 50 euro notes, 20 euro notes, just on the street, under benches. It was wild.
Yeah.
He was constantly ordering stuff off the internet, and then two would turn up at his door. It happened on 4 separate occasions and 4 different orders.
Yeah.
It would constantly be. And the one thing that really drove it home for me was one time we were leaving a supermarket and we were talking and we were just going over to unlock our bikes, and I was talking away to him, and then I was like, Oscar, and he disappeared. I'm like, what the fuck's he done? And I looked back and he was stood by the door of the supermarket talking to a homeless guy that was always there. Yeah. And he was handing him a bag of nuts and a bottle of water. And he was like, hey, senor, how's it going? This, that, and the other. He's like, oh, yeah, not too bad. He's like, hey, where's Emily? And he's like, oh, Emily, I don't know. She ran away. I can't find her. He's like, oh, dude, I'll have a look out for her. Don't worry. If I see her, I'll let you know this. I'm like, does he know him or what's going on? So he came
Yeah.
back and I was like, do you know that guy? He's like, yeah, he's the homeless guy. He's always here. I was like, but like, how do you, huh? He's like, dude, that guy, like, he used to be the road manager, the roadie of a rock band in the 80s, fell into heroin, all this kind of stuff, lives on the street. I'm like, it was Emily. He's like, it's his dog. I'm like, dude, how do you know all this
Oh,
shit?
okay.
Yeah, it was his dog. I'm like, how do you know all this shit? I was like, I talked to them. He's like, I just buying stuff. I have enough. He doesn't. So I just buy them shit. I was like, where did you learn that? He said, my dad. He said, if my dad had 50 pesos, he'd give someone 50 pesos. And he said,
Yeah.
but he was always getting stuff in return. And so he learned that if I give, I get. If I give, I get. And if I get to give more. And ever since that, something clicked in me as to actually how to actually give constantly without ever expecting anything in return. And it's a learned skill. Once you
Yeah.
crack it, you got the keys to the universe right there.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, the name of my podcast is The Super Connector, and I named it after a book that was written by Ryan Paw and another fellow. In there, it talks about networking, specifically about networking. And it talks about there are three different types of networkers. There are givers, there are matchers, and there are takers. Now, we all know who the takers are. They're people who constantly want something and don't offer anything in return, right? We know who those people are. The matchers are people that understand reciprocity. And so they're doing something knowing that they'll get something back, and you know, they do very well for themselves that way. However, the people that do the absolute best are the givers, because the givers are constantly thinking about how can I offer value in this situation, whether it be coming from me or from somebody else, simply because I can introduce someone else into a scenario that provides a tremendous amount of value. And the
Yep.
givers are the ones that are the most successful in networking by far. And of course, that's going to be in whatever career they're in, or simply in their family and their friendships. So I
Yeah,
understand what you're saying there.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So, Joel Elster, when I met you first in person at your little party there in Medellin, you talked about, I asked you how you met Joel Elster, and you said you almost have mirror lives. So how did you, yeah, what is that about?
Yeah, I think Joel and I kind of live parallel lives. So we were both born in England. We both grew up in Spain. Joel was engaged to a Dutch girl for a while there. I was with a Dutch girl for 7 years
Wow,
throughout my
okay.
20s. We both then built businesses, both lost businesses through COVID, and both found our way into the high ticket space through the loss of that business in COVID.
Yeah.
And so our paths have just been very, like, strangely similar. And if we ever turn up anywhere, this happened literally just last week. We went to go and see a potential house for season 2 of the Nomadic Closer House.
Oh, yes, I'm going to ask you
We
about
went
that.
there. Yeah, we'll get to that. And we got there, and the owner of the house immediately assumed that we were brothers. We got separated at one point. He's like, "Where's your brother gone? Where's your brother?" And I was like, "No, that's my partner." It happens all the time. People think that we're
Yeah,
brothers, so there must be some something there, maybe some in a past life. I don't know, but I think with Joel and I and Harlan as well, we all got to know each other in the objection box. So I was
yeah,
coaching in the objection box. Joel and Harlan came in as students in there, and we just hit it off very, very quickly, very easily, because I think we just had very much aligned energy and aligned values. We
yeah.
both looked at the world through similar eyes, through similar lenses. We like to treat people the same way. We like to think
Mhm.
about how we can help people the same way. So we're just very aligned in energies and values.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the success that we've had as a business partnership as well.
Yeah. And you're both rugby players as well. I'm wondering if you had the same
Oh,
position.
Joel's never played rugby. He's
Oh,
too
really?
soft.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Joel's a lover, not a fighter.
Okay. You've been a rugby player your whole life, though. I believe you told me that, right? I'm
Yeah,
trying to imagine what position you were. I know you probably I'm thinking maybe you were a back, maybe you were a flanker or scrum half.
flanker.
You were a flanker. Okay.
Yeah,
I
opens like
got it.
flanker. Yeah, so got the ears a little bit there
Oh
still.
yeah, okay, I
Little
see it.
ears, the crooked teeth that got smashed
Yeah.
in,
Okay.
the
Oh,
fingers.
close.
I can only count to 2.5 on that hand, you see.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a flanker as well. It was a tough
Really?
position though. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
tough position. Yeah.
the best, mate.
So yeah. how was Nomadic Closer formed? Because Nomadic Closer just came boom. It almost seemed like it came out of nowhere and it was just exploding. And you guys really focus on personal branding because you understand how valuable it is. But
Yes.
like where did it come from before everyone knew what Nomadic Closer was? How was it formed? How was it created?
Yeah, so Joel formed Nomadic Closer a good 2 years ago now, back in 2022. I remember I was actually living in Amsterdam at the time, and we were messaging because we used to always just kind of like message and just see what's up and what's going on. And he'd been in a little plant ceremony, and he'd had a little vision there.
Oh
He
yeah.
was a little stuck, a little bit lost, not quite sure which direction to take things, and
Mhm.
he had an experience that just said, "Listen, man, you're a nomad and you're a closer. Let's put two and two together here. You love networking. You love creating communities. He's got a long history of that. He's built very random Facebook groups to big numbers in the past.
Really?
Through what was the one? It was to do with overcoming fears. I think I remember. Anyway, I'm
That
getting
sounds
sidetracked.
like such a Joel thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Coming
he
on a
used to,
fighter, yeah.
as a kid, he used to stutter terribly. He was deadly afraid of talking in public, and so he's someone that you wouldn't recognize if you see the Joel of 10 years ago and the Joel of now is just a completely different person. So it's just a testament to his willingness to grow and his willingness to develop himself, which
Yeah.
is something that I love about him, I think something that we share. But yeah, back 2 years ago, he had a vision to where he loves building communities, he loves connecting people, he loves people. He's a nomad, he's a closer. The name just basically just popped out of nowhere, Nomadic Closer.
Yeah.
And what he did to begin with is he started a Facebook group. He said, hey, let's just get a bunch of closers who are nomads together in a room and let's just see what happens. So
Yeah.
he created the group. And what happened is that closers would apply to get into the group. He would let them in. Business owners would apply to get into the group and he wouldn't let them in, but he would reach back out and say, hey, what are you looking for? This, that, and the other. And they said, oh, I was looking for a closer. And he was like, cool. Like, what are you looking for? I'll maybe, see if I can refer a couple of people.
Yeah.
And out of that started a recruitment and placement business, which is something that we still do to this day.
Yeah.
From there, he partnered up with Harlan a good year and a half ago, I think. Yeah, about a year and a half ago to really start building and operationalizing that side of the business. And they also put their, vast sales experience and knowledge together into the Nomadic Closer Academy,
Yeah.
which is what is still today our school community, our paid school community with their version of their sales training, which is very much designed and targeted at helping people understand their purpose, their why, and their core values,
Okay.
so that when they do go out and sell, they can find their authentic voice, they
Yeah.
can sound like themselves, and they can be in alignment with what it is they're selling. And so probably one of the biggest, I think, hurdles in a closer's career is finding alignment with the offer that they're selling and
Yeah.
the style with which they're selling. If there's misalignment with what they're selling, their results will show it. If
Yeah.
there's misalignment with their sales style, their technique, their tonality that they're trying to sound like their sales trainer, which we unfortunately see a lot in this industry,
Yeah.
then their results will suffer because they're just trying to be someone they're not. And so
Yeah.
our sales training is very much aimed at helping people get into alignment with that and learning how to sell in a way that is truly themselves. And so, we've had messages from people that have been very complimentary and almost very surprised when they've got into the school community and found that the sales training sounds nothing like anybody else's out there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, the big assumption was, oh, they're just going to copy Bill's stuff, they're just going to copy Jeremy's stuff, they're going to copy Cole's stuff and just put a bit
Yeah.
of a Frankenstein thing together, and that's just not the case, and because they're not stupid, right? Basically,
Yeah.
but from there, that side of the business started to grow. And then end of last year, they had an opportunity to start building and managing sales teams for multiple offers, which is when they approached me to be able to kind of leverage my skill set and experience from managing the one offer I had been, and then put that into the agency. And so now we have the Nomadic Closer done for you growth firm, essentially, where
Okay.
we
I see.
where we scale, we manage scale, and run sales teams completely done for you and hands off. And that's essentially what we do.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now, a question which is an exciting one for everyone watching, for both you and I, the Nomadic Closer House. Now, first, let's talk about season 1, because I was so impressed when I saw. I thought it was going to be a reality show. I mean, when I first saw Nomadic Closer, I thought, are there going to be episodes? Like, are there going to be 5-minute episodes where they, that's what it looked like to me. It was like Big Brother, but the future of Big Brother and Nomadic Closer House. And so I was very impressed when I first saw the advertisements for it, I guess what we call it. So what was season 1 like? Can you tell us about your experience there?
Wow, season 1. Firstly, it was an awful lot of fun to put together. So from idea to the first guys landing in Medellin was 8 weeks. And so obviously Joel and I had the thankless task of going and doing all of these different activities and finding out, which of the activities that we wanted to do, which ones we didn't want to do. We had to go through the whole helicopter ride and going wakeboarding and shooting guns ourselves to get the content, but also to kind of find out the activities. So that was an awful lot of fun. But what was more fun, I think, was putting together something that we would have desperately wanted and in a way almost needed when we were closing and being nomadic closers.
Yeah.
So we really got to create exactly what it was that we would have wanted. And we knew it was going to be good. I don't think we were prepared for it to go so well. We assumed that there were going to be an awful lot more problems, and it went off almost without a hitch. We were incredibly fortunate with it. We had a great bunch of guys as well. We got 7 guys down into a house down here in Poblado for the month of April. And if I were to speak for the guys, and I've heard some of the testimonial videos that some of them literally made me tear up, actually, is that it was transformative. It was transformative to them. And if I think back to the first day when they arrived, because 5 of the guys were from Canada, and so they were arriving in April, white as a sheet, Stephen. Like,
I know, I'm Canadian. I know.
It looks so unhealthy, bro. They're all skinny, emaciated, all pale, a lot of except for Curatanzis, but there you go.
Yeah.
And so just to see, it wasn't even that. It was, for a lot of the guys, it was the first time out of the country. For a lot of the guys, it was at least the first time in South America. For a lot of the guys, it was the first time living with a big bunch of guys for an extended period of time. And so I think the discomfort of the situation may have exaggerated or exacerbated the body language, the tonality, the quietness of their voices. I found the reservedness in their character. If you notice, I'm a bit loud, right? Like, I'll just laugh. I'm myself. I don't give a fuck. I'll have as many tattoos as I want. I'll tattoo my head if I want to. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll just be me, because I'm the best at being me, and everybody else is taken. But I did notice with the guys that there was a tremendous amount of sort of reservedness in their character and their personality, of not wanting to be too loud, not wanting to stand out. And it's human nature. But if I think from that moment to the 4th week, to when everybody left, the hugs, the smiles, the laughter, the relaxed nature of everybody just being able to be themselves, that was really, really warming for me, because it wasn't just about getting better at sales. It wasn't just about doing cool shit on the weekends. There was a real, palpable, noticeable personal growth in a very short period of time of just 4 weeks. And so that was probably the most rewarding thing I've done. Hold on. That's probably top 3 of the most rewarding things I've been lucky enough to be a part of to date.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember that shortly after I had interviewed Joel on this podcast, Hugh Rotansi had reached out to me, and I spoke with him, because Q's from Vancouver as well.
Right.
And Q and I have a bit of we were both in blue collar work. He was an electrician. I was an oil pipeline worker. And then we both got into sales. So it's very different. And so I spoke with him. I had a networking meeting with him in the beginning, and the change with him is tremendous. I mean, wow.
he's gone on
Meaning
to
it's
have
improved dramatically.
record. Yeah, he's gone on to have some record months with his sales now. I
Yeah.
think he made 63 grand the other month, maybe in July or so. All of them gone on to do phenomenal things. We've got Danny Paulin that's really taken off. He got into his first managerial position now, which was something that he really, really wanted to do. So we were able to help him to do that. We've got Pete Clements. I heard from Harlan the other day that he's bought his dream car now. He's doing amazing.
Yeah.
Who's taken off. Bartek has just completely come to life as a person and really growing into a sales role now. He's been doing a lot of setting and really, really getting comfortable in that role. And these are all guys that were just a little bit lost and struggling beforehand, doing well in their own right. Like Danny Paulin had made 43 grand in a month before coming to the Nomadic Closer House, but he just wasn't where he knew he could be yet. They were all doing well on paper, but they all knew that there was more, and I think that's really starting to blossom now. And that's like, man, that's fucking awesome. That's so cool.
Great. And so what is planned for season 2?
Plan for season 2. Well, got to step our game up now, haven't we? So season 2 is going to be back here in Medellin again.
Yeah.
We considered to go into different locations, but there was nothing about the experience in Medellin that warranted a change.
Yeah.
It gave us no reason to look for alternatives.
Yeah.
It wasn't that it was great, except if it had this. It was amazing, except for this thing. It was amazing across the board. So we said, why try and find better? So what we're going to be doing is October 15th to October 30th, we're going to be having the next group, the season 2 of the Nomadic Closer House. And so I know that there are 5 spots left for that currently. And we've got our early bird pricing until the end of this month, until the end of August. Prices will go up by 50% then, because obviously, it's better for us to get all the reservations and get all the all the bums in seats well ahead of time, so you can plan accordingly. So obviously there's a little incentive there to sign up early. But we'll be doing a 2-week transformation this time. We've taken it down from 4 weeks to 2 weeks, purely for a couple of reasons. Number one, we listened to the feedback from the first round of the Nomadic Closer House, where 4 weeks was difficult logistically to organize for people. It was hard to leave their partners or their dogs or their homes for a whole month. And so we listened to the feedback, and we coupled that with noticing that the 90% of the transformation was already done in the first 2 weeks.
Oh,
The
interesting.
other 2 weeks was just, that
camaraderie. It's just the camaraderie improved things. Yeah.
Exactly. The main 90% of the breakthroughs, of the aha moments, of the transformation of the group, of the bonding, was all done within the first 14 days. The other 14 days were kind of like just cool, chill, living, relaxing, working together, just riding that out. But the main bulk of the transformation was done in the first 14 days. And so if we coupled that with knowing that, it's a little bit harder for people to organize 4 weeks, we decided on doing a 2-week transformation here in Medellin. And we've got some phenomenal guest speakers coming in. We've got some awesome activities lined up for them again. And so, it's going to be a very, very, very memorable experience for anybody who dares to be a part of it.
Awesome. I'm sure that will fill up pretty quick.
I'm sure it will.
Great. So what made you decide, because you were a closer before, what made you decide to take that leap into leadership, into management? Was it just because you felt that, how did you explain it before? You said that you had to surrender to what was in front of you and what came to you?
Yeah, there was an element of that. Growing up and playing sports, and throughout then, like after playing sports and throughout my professional career, I seem to have gravitated towards positions of responsibility, positions of management, of leadership. I was always captain or vice captain of the rugby teams that I was playing for. And so it's something I seem to have always gravitated towards naturally. I don't think I've actively sought it out. But then again, I think sometimes that's the best sign. I remember there's a Scottish comedian called Billy Connolly. He said, anyone who expresses the desire to become a politician should automatically be disqualified from becoming one.
Okay. I like it.
Anybody who's looking for a position of leadership actively and almost with desperation, probably to be, analyzed a little bit. Like, why is that really? It's just something I've always gravitated to, and I've always kind of been pushed towards. And so when getting into sales, I had a very basic skill set from my own business coaching business that I've been running, where I'd been exposed to selling 2,000 euro packages, and that was my core offer, my core package. And I remember the first time I sold that, I was like, who in their right mind would pay that amount of money? Like, it was crazy, but people did. They got them a great result because I'd scaled CrossFit gyms myself, and so
Yeah.
I knew exactly what they needed and how it was going to work. But initially, 2,000 selling something for 2,000 euros was like, whoa, okay. So I got to figure out how to do this. So I did a little bit of sales training, and so I took that into my first opportunities. But then I found out pretty quickly that I needed more. I need to understand it more, because then I was selling, $35,000 packages, and I needed to understand more about human behavior, psychology, sales, just basic word tracks, how to handle objections, etc. And so I really went on a quest, and I'm a little bit like this as well. I'm a little bit obsessive.
Yeah.
I just went on a quest to absorb every single piece of information I could on the internet. I did this when I got into CrossFit. I probably watched every single CrossFit video that ever existed at the time. When I was a little kid, I bought myself some juggling balls once, and that's all I did for 2 weeks. My mum couldn't get me to. I wouldn't do my homework or anything. And so getting into sales, I tried to just download as much information as I could and just test it out in the calls, find out what worked, iterate on what didn't. And so I think through that, I had a good, not just practical, but also theoretical understanding of sales. And I was able to kind of break things down and explain it to other people. Whereas somebody who is maybe more of a natural, in quotation marks, salesperson may not understand always what they're doing and why it's effective. And so the example I always give is when I was running my CrossFit gyms, somebody who had got a muscle up on their first attempt, where you on the gymnastic rings and you go from kind of hanging to like over the rings.
That's
quite a
real
technical
tough.
movement. Yeah, it's a very technical movement. But there are people that kind of like, they just see other people do it. And I was one of them, right? I just kind of saw people doing it. I watched a couple of videos, and my first attempt, I got it. Then there are people that took 6, 9, 12 months to get their first muscle up. They had to do all of the progressions, all of the technique, the technical drills, all of the stuff with the rubber bands, and eventually they get it. Those people were always able to teach the muscle up a lot better than the person who got it on their first attempt, because they'd had to break it down. They had to understand it into its finest little detail. And I think that my advantage coming into sales was that I wasn't particularly gifted at it at all, but I really wanted to master it. And so I used to listen to audiobooks to go to sleep. I would try and like have it literally brainwash me. If any second that I wasn't on a call or talking to someone, I would stick them in. It was actually Alex Hormozi's Gym Launch Secrets audiobook. And he had a chapter at the end, which was objection overcomes. And I just would listen to it. As Grant Cardone had one as well, with all the different objection overcomes. I would just try and brainwash yourself. So when the opportunity came to work with Bill, I jumped at it, because I felt that everything that I've always done has been attaining some level of competency in something, and then I really enjoy teaching it to the next person. For 2 reasons. Number one, I really enjoy seeing their progress. Number two, I get better as well. The teacher learns as much as.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think I probably, through that coaching period, coupled with learning from Bill and being able to pass on to the next person, just accelerated my sales skills so fast. So fast. And so I really enjoyed that process. And I think it's just a process of learning something, teaching it to the next person. I think everybody watching can take something from that. If you are learning a skill, find someone to teach it to. You'll get better a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's right. So in 2024, everyone knows these days that personal branding is important. How important is personal branding in your business these days? And how can someone leverage personal branding to open their own business?
I think personal branding is important as long as you know why you're doing it. And I think the main reason, the most important reason that anybody can start on any sort of personal branding journey is not even necessarily with a particular business goal in mind, not necessarily with a particular financial goal in mind, but just with this thought. This is the thing that really kicked off personal branding for me. I can't predict the future. There is an incredible amount of uncertainty around the future.
Yeah.
The only thing I can say with absolute certainty is that right now it is August 2024, and in 12 months' time, it will be August 2025. That I can say with absolute certainty.
Yeah.
What happens in between, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
But that time is going to pass anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to pass no matter what you do. Whether you have remained in obscurity and hoped and needed to leverage your own personal connections, which are by its very nature limited, to open up opportunities, to solve problems, to find new career paths, or whether you will have made your personality public and open to the world and connecting with people that you wouldn't have otherwise connected with, at the supermarket or your next door neighbor. You're going to open up more opportunities for yourself. You're going to be able to leverage more opportunities. And you're also going to have something that you will always be able to fall back on. So my dad, for example, he was by trade a bricklayer. And so he worked up and, he used to manage big building projects.
That's
eventually
rough work, man. Bricklaying.
Oh, yeah.
That's really tough work.
In England as well.
Yeah.
Where it's cold, it's wet and rainy. Yeah, tough son of a bitch, my dad. But he was a bricklayer. And so growing up, he was taught to acquire a trade: bricklaying, plumbing, plastering.
Yeah.
And the reason being, you could always fall back on it. You could always find work as a bricklayer. That was what he was taught. Nowadays, the thing that you can always fall back on is your personal brand. Because if you have a following, you have people that know you, that like you, that trust you, that understand what you stand for, what skills you have, what your interests are, they get to know your personality, you will be able to fall back on that following, those people that you have built a virtual connection with, which is always by its nature going to be larger than the connections that you can make in person. Yes. And so that for me is just the meta of personal branding. I wouldn't even start it with a particular business goal in mind, because those things are, my Instagram has gone from me being a CrossFit athlete to me being a CrossFit gym owner, to me being a CrossFit business coach, to me being a closer, to me being a sales coach, to me being a sales manager. Do you think anybody's looking at my Instagram thinking this guy's fucking crazy? Like, I'm going to unfollow him. Like, he can't make up his mind what he's doing.
It's way too interesting. It's way too interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. What the fuck is he going to do next? Right. Yeah. Maybe there's an element of that, but it doesn't matter if you change your mind about something. It doesn't matter if you change your interest. It doesn't matter if you get into boxing one day and you're into, fucking gymnastics the next. It doesn't matter. Yeah. That's just you. Those are just the things that light you up at the time, and you will always vibe with the people who that thing also lights up. And so I think for me, that's when it really clicked, with personal branding. Time is going to pass anyway.
Yes.
Will you allow it to pass having posted one measly little thing a day, one measly little thing a week, to let the world know about who you are and what you have to offer? Yeah. Or are you going to remain in obscurity and have to rely on that small group of friends that you have, which is by its very nature limited? And the first time that I got approached for an offer from a stranger on the internet who had seen my content was the day it clicked. I was like, I will never stop doing this now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. The first time I improved my personal brand, it was strictly for dating. It was just putting good photos of myself on Instagram, and hey, it worked. And then
Yep.
after that, when I decided to open up this podcast, I didn't have any intentions of monetizing it, and I really still don't. I just wanted to open it to see what would happen. And then now
Right.
I'm putting up, I'm documenting my boxing journey from zero.
Right.
It's my
Amazing.
zero to hero story. And
Yep.
you'll see me, and I'm trying to hit the punching bag, and I'm completely missing it. But I'm getting better day by day, and it's just so much fun. Again, I don't have any intention on monetizing it, but it's just so interesting. And also, I have to look good. So I have to be interesting. So I force myself to do more interesting things. I'm going to be jumping out of a plane one day or doing mountain climbing or something. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I set the ball in motion. So I have to keep going.
I love it. And I have to say as well, I've been watching your boxing progress because I like boxing. I do a little bit of myself, by no means an
Yeah.
expert, but I like a little bit of boxing myself. And I've been watching along and I've been really enjoying it, man. I can see you keeping your hands up more as well
Yeah.
now because you had a little bit
Yeah.
of a tendency to drop your hands when you were throwing punches, right? And I can see you keeping them up now. I can see you progressing. I've never commented on a single video.
Mhm.
And so for anybody out there who is posting stuff and is wondering why they don't have hundreds of comments and hundreds of likes, people are watching.
Yes.
They are watching. They just aren't saying anything. And they could be watching and vibing with every second of every piece of content that you put out.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
don't stop doing it. Don't stop
Yeah.
doing it. That would be my big
That's
message
right.
to anybody who
Yeah,
is.
because I would, whether they be clips that I had from this podcast or the boxing shorts that I have, I see the people watching and I wonder, well, does it matter if the people that aren't pushing the like button, are they not enjoying it? And then I thought, well, when I'm scrolling through, I don't like any of the pictures. I don't even know where the like button is. I just go, oh, that's cool. And I move to the next one, right? And
Yeah.
then it's interesting because I started getting these guys with big cauliflower ears, random people messaging me saying, hey man, you only started boxing 24 days ago. You're doing awesome. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool, man. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
And don't discount the dozens or maybe even hundreds of people that are watching that are thinking the same thing. They're just not saying it. And you're
Yes.
still having an effect. You still make my day when I see those videos and I see how much I'm like, fucking hell, like he's getting better already. I can see
Yeah.
the technique coming. I'm enjoying it, but I haven't commented on a single one. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure that there's dozens and maybe even hundreds of others out there. So for
Yeah.
anybody watching, don't stop posting content. Just be
Exactly.
you,
Don't stop
show your
posting.
life,
It's
and
all
it'll
about
make
the
you
consistency. It's about the consistency.
exactly.
And
Yeah, that's the
eventually you're
medicine
just
that we
going
get
to
out of it.
see those analytics. They're going to be kind of like this. And then all of a sudden they're just going to take off like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I don't even look at analytics to be honest.
Oh, really?
No, I don't. I genuinely don't. I just make stuff that I enjoy talking about, and people vibe with it. Cool. If they don't, cool.
So what does the future look like for Adam Taylor? What does the future look like?
And who knows, mate? Who knows? Well, one thing I do know is I feel very, very much at home with what I'm doing right now. And whilst I've always kind of felt at home, I've always also known that there's more. There's more to come. There's more on the road. There's more of the road ahead of me. I feel very comfortable and very at home and in alignment with what I'm doing now, with working with Nomadic Closer, with the role that I'm in, with not just only managing and running sales reps now, but also sales leaders. So, of the 4
Yeah.
accounts, I have a team leader, a sales manager on each one. And so I'm leading leaders, which is what I absolutely love doing.
Yeah.
And I can also see the growth of Nomadic Closer over the next few years from us growing from 4 to 8 to potentially 10 or more accounts. And I know that there's an awful lot for me to give here. And I've also had a perspective shift just this year to where I am very competitive. I didn't play 9 years of professional rugby, played internationally, competed in CrossFit because I didn't like winning.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very competitive. And I'll say quick little anecdote to drive this home. This year, there was another or there are several competing sales agencies out there. I have a list of them in my notes to kind of keep tabs on them and
Yeah.
just kind of know who's in the market in case the names come up. And one in particular kept on cropping up. If anybody was looking for sales management, leadership, growth firms, etc., On Facebook, people would tag this company in, and they would consistently put in there, they're the best in the business, they're the best in the industry, they're the best in the industry. And this would piss me right off. Just my competitive me in me would just be like, fucking says who? Why are they so? Who declared them best in the industry? And not that I would lose sleep over it, but it got under my skin in a really good way. Only in a healthily competitive way of like, I'm gonna make sure that's next to our name. And so I found out a couple of months ago that a prospective client that we had spoken to potentially come in and run their sales team had gone with this other competitor.
Yeah.
And I found out that they also then terminated the contract after 6 weeks. And so we went back and asked, what happened? Hey, sad to hear what happened. And they had no good things to say about them. They were very disappointed in the results and the communication and the lack of transparency and the this, that, and the other. And after 6 weeks, they just got rid of them. And it made me realize we're all just figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
These titles and best in the industry or top of the leaderboard and this, that, and the other, it's all made up anyway. And it made me realize I don't need to beat anyone at all, or even now. We've been a sales agency now for 7 months.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding that people are going to put us as best in the industry after 7 months? There's an arrogance to that. And so it made me realize I don't need to win anything right now. I'll just win in 3 years. I'll win in 5 years. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I can see the growth and trajectory, the personal growth for myself, for the company, for Joel, for Harlan, and for all the reps and the teams that we manage. I can very visually see how much we can grow together over the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah. And so I have said to myself, this is what I'll be doing. I won't be chopping and changing anymore. I'll be doing this for the next 3 to 5 years minimum. And then who knows? But I'm very comfortable in what I'm doing. We will be growing Nomadic Closer. We will be continuing to scale sales teams. We'll be continuing to create ethical and enjoyable sales environments for Nomadic Closers to thrive and for businesses to also scale to offer their services to more people. We'll be doing that with integrity, altruism, and excellence, our 3 core values. And we will be continuing to run Nomadic Closer houses. We have big visions for that as well, to eventually have a Medellin house, a Cape Town house, a Mallorca house, a Mexico house, and have members of our community be able to stay there for 3, 6, or 12 months at a time. And so these are all big, big visions that we have that I'm super happy to just sit in the saddle, just sit in my seat there in the corner and just plug away at day in and day out for the next few years. I'll be very happy to do that.
Awesome. Adam, it was so great to have you on. We talked about so many things. This has been a long time coming too. We had to reschedule quite a few times because well, you're very busy. And so, but it was really great to have you on. I had Joel on before, I had you on. Maybe I'll have Harlan on in the future. You should,
mate. You should. He's got a hell of a story behind him. Get Harlan on and get to tell him his backstory. It's
he's got a hell of a beard too.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up, man. It's a bit of a prerequisite for Nomadic Closer. So
yeah, it seems it is. Well, Adams, thank you so much for coming on. This has been one of my favorite episodes, and I'm just so glad that I'm putting more content out. I'm going to continue with my boxing experiment and see where it takes us. And this was awesome. So I guess we'll just wave goodbye to the audience. Thanks for coming on, Adam.
We do. Thank you so much for having me,
everybody. Yeah.
All right. Catch you all later.
Yeah.